Well, guys, we are back from London. It was a whirlwind, and we didn't win the grand prize, but we did get a bunch of great interviews with finalists and presenters at the 67 Pall Mall Awards.
Actually, Catherine, I got us a bunch of great interviews. You were, wait, what were you doing?
I was executive producing, Nick. I was holding forth. Actually, you know what I was doing? I was in the naughty corner.
That's right. We conducted most of our interviews in this little room at the 67 Pall Mall that was full of art of naked people. It was awesome. I will post some photos of the naughty room.
Or the naughty corner. That was a special spot. Listeners, you can just kind of use your imaginations there. Well, anyway, this is going to be a very special episode in which we share some of those interviews, voices from wine media around the world. And, we sat down with some of these
Whoa, whoa,
folks.
whoa. I sat down with some of these folks. You were off executive producing.
I was behind the scenes. I was conducting. Anyway, we sat down with these wine experts, and these are folks whose words we love to read and whose voices we love to hear.
And we will hear those voices in this episode. But before we get started, I feel like we need to do a quick download from our trip. Nick, what was your favorite thing about London?
Um, Probably the fact that in England, The Office is still on Netflix, which is huge when we got home late-ish at night. But otherwise, one of my favorite things was having proper pints of cask ale at a bunch of different historic pubs. That was a blast.
Love that. Catherine, what about you?
I was actually battling a terrible cold. So I have a couple recommendations from my last trip to London, and they're both kind of touristy. One was to go to the Globe Theatre and actually do the tour. If you are a fan of Shakespeare, as I am, it's really fun, but be sure to dress warmly because you are sitting outside. And then my other recommendation is to go to the Tate. When I was last in London, Yayoi Kusama had an exhibition, and it was so important for me to see it that I became a Tate member, and now I'm excited because that means I can go back anytime, except when I'm lying in bed with a cold.
Very cool. Well, I enjoyed probably the best donut I've ever had. It was like a raspberry jam filled donut in Marylebone at this restaurant called St. John. It's actually quite a fancy meat restaurant, but during the day they also have a bakery open. So I definitely recommend that. And then the thing that sustained me the day of the award ceremony was these little coronation chicken salad bites that I ate quite a bit of.
Mm. So has the chicken been coronated, or do we know what
I
the
looked
story
it
is
up
behind it?
actually. Yeah, it was served in the 50s, I believe, at Queen Elizabeth's coronation, and it's like a curry chicken salad.
Ooh, nice.
Mhm.
Weren't we drinking some Tokai from Hungary?
Yeah, we had some Tokai.
I
It
bet
was
that was
great.
really good with a chicken bite.
It sure was.
Well, fantastic. Well, hey guys, I'm excited for our listeners to hear from all the wine journalists we spoke with, and we have some really exciting names in there. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. And we'll be back next week with a regular episode.
The finalists for the 67 Pall Mall Award for Best Global Wine Communicator in Audio are Catherine Cole from the US, Brina Quigley from the US, Peter Richards and Susie Barry from the UK, Samantha Cole-Johnson from the US, and Barbara Drew from the UK.
Okay, I'll just cut right to the chase. We were finalists in the audio category, but we did not pull out a win.
And the winners are Peter Richards and Susie Barry.
That's right, Susie and Peter of Wine Blast won, and a huge congrats to them. There were a lot of really talented folks nominated, long-listed, and shortlisted, so we were just happy to end up as finalists and get to have a blast at the awards ceremony. While there, we spoke to some of our fellow wine communicators and the folks involved in the competition. We asked the finalists to talk about what piece of audio, video, or writing they submitted. We also asked them to give us a hot take or a prediction for next year, and a dessert course or recommendation for something they've been enjoying lately. We've compiled their insights and are bringing them to you. Please excuse some of the audio quality. We had to record in some dynamic situations, but we think you'll enjoy this episode. Cheers!
My name is Richard Hemming. I am the Master of Wine and Head of Wine Asia for 67 Pall Mall.
And you are the man behind the 67 Pall Mall Global Wine Communicator Awards, correct?
That's right. So we've literally just come out of the ceremony where we gave the awards to the winners of the 2024 version of the competition, and I very much hope that we'll be able to continue it in future.
And how did you feel about the submissions this year?
I mean, firstly, I was so impressed that there were so many people that are communicating about wine in so many different ways and from so many different places. We had a huge array of different interesting styles that were coming to us. The quality was incredibly high. Now, people say that about competitions, but honestly, it was so difficult to try and choose between some of these entries. And, you know, they were all great, and all of the finalists that we were talking about today were really absolutely at the top of their game. So it was very encouraging. I've got quite an exciting trend in the UK called Britnat, which is pet nat that is made from UK grown grapes, mostly English grown fruit. And that, I think, is a really exciting new category because it's sort of giving a new spin on the English sparkling wine scene.
Thank you. And then if you have a recommendation for something, could be wine, could be food, could be whatever that you're enjoying right now that you think other people should enjoy.
Well, I'm going to have to say that I've spent the last year writing a book. It's called Wine and the Food of Asia. And it takes wine matching, but with Asian flavors, which has been done before. However, we really try and take groups of flavors and find the correct match that uses kind of logical criteria, whether it's for a group of flavors or whether it's for a specific recipe. And we are covering 400 plus different recipes and loads of interesting wines. And it is out this month.
My name is Elaine Chukan Brown. I am a global wine educator, speaker, and writer of wine.
Tell us a little bit about how you felt about the submissions this year.
So we just finished the 67 Pall Mall Global Wine Communicator Award ceremony, and finalists flew in from all over the world. It was very exciting to be there. I'm really thrilled as head of judges with the submissions we got this year. The quality was extraordinary, and it was from countries all over the world, which I think is really exciting.
Do you have something to recommend our listeners? Book, wine, food, TV show, video game, whatever.
Actually, lately I've been having marzipan, something I found as a little kid and really loved. Sometimes it's too sweet, but I think it's time for people to revisit marzipan.
All right. Can they pair that well with wine, do you think?
Maybe a court de champ.
All right, marzipan, court de champ. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Jancis Robinson.
What do you think is the state of wine journalism? I mean, journalists are being paid less and less every year.
Yeah,
Wine journalists, you know, they really struggle.
it is tricky, and there are fewer and fewer outside paid gigs, as you have identified. And people really, younger people, have to launch themselves online, basically, don't they? And the cream rises to the top. But there are an awful lot of people swimming around in milk, trying to turn it into cream. A rather labored metaphor there. I just feel so lucky. I've been writing for the Financial Times since 1989, waiting for them to say, move over. But I love it. I mean, I so enjoy it. And I'm sorry that more people can't have a career as secure as mine.
Well, I have to say, I'm the former wine columnist for the Oregonian newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
And back in the day, 20-something years ago, there were no women to look up to. And you were someone who I really looked up to. And obviously, I still do, but I really appreciate all the work.
Oh, well,
Thank
that's
you.
very, very kind. I'm thrilled now that there are women who are really doing a great, great work in wine. But when I started out, I just put my head down and got on with it, really, and worked hard.
So I'm a sommelier, André Mack. So I just won for a long form video. I have to say that it feels pretty good. I think to be recognized by your peers for the work that you do is kind of the ultimate goal. It's always welcome and also feels great to be acknowledged. I submitted 2 long videos, which were pretty interesting and fun for me. The first video that we submitted was drinking vintage champagne, how champagne changes over the years. We did Vuc Coupé. I think people kind of understand that. We did like the vintage dated stuff. So it was from like the 60s to the early 2000s. And I thought that was a really fun thing to kind of like show. And then from there, we did a bottle of Harlan, so it was like $1,500 bottle of wine. Is it worth it? And I think most people, that's the kind of burning questions for them. It's like, I'm going to spend this money. Is it worth it? And so that was a really fun thing. And it kind of really brought me back to my roots. I worked at really great restaurants over the years, the French Laundry per se. I got to taste a cornucopia of wines that you couldn't even put a price tag on.
Can you give us a hot take or prediction for next year or a reflection on the past year?
What I like to tell people is that your relationship with wine is not about monogamy. It's not this quest to find the chosen one, your soulmate, that you drink for the rest of your life. Wine is truly one of those things where express all things in life. Variety is the spice of life, right? So drink as much wine as you can. I got a new book coming out called Thirst Trap, How to Love Wine Without Monogamy, right? Go get it. It's going out 2026. So please keep an eye out for it and drink what you love.
Hi, I'm Henna Bakshi. I'm a food and wine journalist from the US.
What did you submit and what made you feel like it was award worthy?
Oh, man. So the two finalist pieces that I have, one of them was for long form writing, and it was about the wine renaissance in Bollywood movies and cinema. It was an article for VinePair, and it essentially looks at how we're seeing wine as part of the Indian dinner table, which is truly unheard of as of just a few years ago. Wine has just not been part of the conversation or the dinner table in India for so long. In fact, it's a taboo. So I wanted to look at why that was, trace how the economics of middle class India is rising and how that equated to travel and more wine sales. And it's a really fun way to look at the economics of something through something fun like Bollywood. And then the other nomination was for short form video. And there was two videos on that. And one was a really fun reel that I did called Boot the Flute. I have this campaign called Boot the Flute where I see a flute and I scream. And the video is essentially about all the different ways you can utilize a flute, which is a flower vase or bird seed container for your pet bird and in the trash. And then the other video, it was about a simple question. Why does Atlanta not serve Georgia wine? And that question really applies to all major cities around the world, where regional wines don't end up at the city centers, at the restaurants, at the wine lists of these major cities. So we went to a vineyard that I think is doing amazing stuff, Cloudland Vineyard, interviewed the winemaker there, Sean Wilburn, who's doing amazing organic winemaking in Atlanta, and it's fantastic. And we just kind of dove in as to why we're not seeing them more at restaurant menus, why there's a lack of distribution and stuff like that.
Do you have a hot take or prediction for 2025?
So far, I mean, we're definitely seeing a lot of amazing low ABV wines. I think we're falling in love with white wines, which hallelujah, that's
Yep.
just amazing. Like bubbles and white wine, I think are just doing amazing stuff. I think a hot take I have is sweet wine as a spritz is going to take off. I'm seeing a lot more sweet wines and martinis. I'm seeing a lot more sweet wine just mixed with tonic. I think they're beautiful. Sweet wines on their own from around the world are gorgeous. But I think we're going to see them more in cocktail culture. We're going to see them more in spritz culture. And they're going to be fantastic on a bar cart.
Do you have something to recommend our listeners? Book, wine, food, TV show, video game, whatever.
One question I bring up at the table is, what does the wine sound like? And not a lot of people think about that. What kind of music is ignited in your brain when you drink wine? There is such beauty in the way a wine can crescendo. So when I drink wine, I think of it in ways of music too, because it just allows for a lot of musicality to come through. So yeah, next time you're drinking wine, what do you hear?
Hi, I'm Amanda Barnes, wine writer based in South America. I did some video and writing and was lucky enough to be picked within the all-around Communicator award. And the reason I submitted is because actually, as a freelance writer, it's quite a lonely job. And so awards is something which bring people together. It's a really nice opportunity to network. It's a nice kind of pat on the back to get some recognition and really boost your morale.
Do you have a hot take or prediction for 2025?
Well, for me, it has to be criolla from South America. So a delicious, juicy país from Chile, or a lovely criolla chica from Argentina, or maybe a nice orange wine as well. I think my hot take is that South American criolla is going to boom and that everyone should be drinking the criolla, the native varieties from South America, specifically País from Chile. Definitely check out Cría Chica from Argentina. Try the orange wines from the Torontes and Moscatel, and lots of cool stuff happening.
Do you have something to recommend our listeners? Book, wine, food, TV show, video game, whatever.
Okay, so what I've been working on for the last month, and this is absolutely postponing writing my thesis, is perfecting the Japanese omelet. You know, the one that's like bubbly and delicious and melty in the middle? It's taken me a long time. For years I've been working on it, but this month I've nailed it. I have tips, but I will only reveal them in person.
How does it feel to be a winner of a 67 Pall Mall?
No, it feels really exciting. Like, I mean, I've literally just won, so I'm like, I've only had 3 hours sleep. I'm like absolutely effervescent with bubbles, and I'm just thrilled, really excited. I'm so proud to meet all these amazing people here. It's a beautiful event, incredible communicators from all the walks of life, different styles of communication, different parts of the world. It's just really beautiful to be part of something so exciting.
I'm Samantha Cole-Johnson, but I go by Sam. I'm the U.S. senior editor for JancisRobinson.com. I was shortlisted in the category of Best Audio Communicator and Best Overall.
Can you give us a hot take or prediction for next year, or a reflection on the past year?
First off, I think in the next year, you're going to see a lot of wine brands and more serious communicators show up on TikTok, because it is now legal to advertise alcohol on TikTok. They reached the minimum age demographic for that. And then I also think that communication is going to become more about connecting with your audience via who you are and what they need. You can already see it happening with how to, which is you involving yourself in what someone else is doing, or communication that is very personal does really well. And I think that's because as AI gets more popular, you see a lot of the fact-based communication can be done well that way, but the personal communication cannot be done well that way.
And then something you've been enjoying lately that you think others should enjoy.
Okay, I have two. One of them is a book by Jane Lopes that's been out for a number of years now. It's called Vignette, and it does what I was just talking about really well, where it meshes her personality and her struggles and what she's succeeded in, what she's failed in, and wine knowledge together, so that it's really wonderful to read, and you can very easily imagine who she is and learn a lot about wine. And then the second one is Sensodyne toothpaste. If you have sensitive teeth because you love wine, it is the best toothpaste out there, and you should not be using the whitening kind, because a lot of times it has little beads in it that scrape your enamel, or it has a bleach in it which weakens your enamel, but just the straight Sensodyne toothpaste.
Hi, everybody. This is Agnese, and I am from No Sediment, and I am here at 67 Pall Mall Wine Communicator Award, and I was shortlisted for long-form videos. The long-form video, one of them that I submitted, was whether or not price really reflects the quality in wine, and I did a tasting on video where I kind of prepared myself that price will not necessarily reflect the quality, but I ended up liking in the blind the wine that was the most expensive. So kind of all my theory went out of the window. And the second one was more educational video, which I also do, and it was Chianti Classico versus Brunello, and kind of introducing the differences and similarities between the two wines, filmed from the spot in the Brunello, in the Montalcino area.
Do you have a hot take or prediction for 2025?
Yeah, I wish we would see more less discovered grapes in wine regions next year.
Do you have something to recommend our listeners? Book, wine, food, TV show, video game, whatever.
I will actually do this one. I think in Latvia there are so many winemakers who are struggling to work with hybrid grapes and like fruits as well. But one thing what we do from my country, from Latvia where I'm coming from, we make such an amazing beer. So if you ever have a chance to try some Latvian brewed beer from some microbrewery, definitely do that. We make some amazing beers.
There you have it, folks. We're ending on a high note talking about beer. In lieu of a dessert course this week, consider those recommendations from our fellow wine communicators, especially that one about Sensodyne toothpaste.
Well, this has been the Four Top Podcast. I am our executive producer, Catherine Cole.
I'm our producer, Nick Toole.
I'm media and design manager Ruby Welkovich.
Keelan King is the composer and performer of our theme music. And please visit our website, theforetop.org, to learn more about us and listen to back episodes.
If you have not already subscribed to The Foretop on iTunes or Spotify, please do so, and please leave us a rating.
Hey y'all, this is important. Every rating feeds the algorithm and helps new listeners find the Foretop.
From the bowl of a $99 Josephinen Hütte Cocoon Glass, this is Catherine, signing out.
From Portland, Maine, where Gator wine is the official city drink, this is Nick, signing off.
And from my kitchen in Brooklyn, where I'm thinking up the next trendy thing to mix with chilled red wine, this is Ruby, signing out. Stay safe out there, and thanks for listening.
Hell yeah.